as such for population decreases, the genetic cells representing the population. Here we will be looking at frequencies. And these frequencies are attributed to two components. One allele and the other one genotypes. So the two frequencies, allele or gene frequency and the genotypic frequency, control the evolution of population from one generation to another generation. The changes in these frequencies are an indication that the population is evolving. The population has the possibility of developing into another new population. So frequency basically means the proportion. Proportion of a component with respect to the total. So two frequencies we have to take in the same way in terms of the proportion of gene, the proportion of genotype in terms of the all genes and all genotypes. Consider a diallelic gene. When you say a gene has a diallelic, it indicates there are two forms of the gene. So the same locus, same position can have two different occupants. So one we can say a capital A, that's one gene form. And the second one we can say small a, the second or alternative gene form. The capital A and small a are called alleles. So the diallelic gene A consists of two distinct alleles, capital A and small a. Then when you look at the genotypic frequencies, you can generate it by using a checkers board. The same board also called as the Punnett square board. So one side you take the gene frequency with respect to the female, other side you take the gene frequency with respect to the male. This is the dominant allele. So frequency of dominant allele, we take it as P. So frequency of capital A equals to P. Frequency of recessive allele, we take it as Q. So frequency of recessive allele. The same way for the males also, capital A frequency equals to P, small a frequency equals to P. So this indicates the frequencies of the gametes. It is a sexual union of the gametes that give rise to the next generation. That means the female gamete here has to fuse with one of the male gametes. This is purely random process of gametic combination that we are considering here for getting the genotypes. So one we get frequency of capital A, capital A. Second one we get frequency of capital A, small a. Third one we get frequency of capital A, small a. Fourth one we get frequency of small a, small a. So then essentially we combine all the frequencies and we got the proportions of them. Since The frequency of capital A is P. The capital A is P. This will be P square. Frequency of small a is Q and capital A is P. This will be equal to P. Frequency of capital A and small a, again P. Here we have two recessive harmonics. The frequency of that will be Q square. So what we have done essentially is we found out the frequencies in terms of the genotype and we assigned the frequencies in terms of the alleles or genes. Remember, in genetics, population genetics, the term gene is synonym with allele. So now how we can distribute this? Gene or allele frequencies. Gene or allele frequencies. What should we get? First we take the dominant allele frequency, then the allelic form capital A. This we have given as. Whereas for the recessive one, we gave it as small. So dominant allele frequency is small p, recessive allele frequency is small p. Now we first said that this is a diallelic gene. That means if we have only two different alleles. So we got the two alleles. So when you have the sum of the frequencies of the two alleles, it will be P plus. Since we have only two alleles, only two frequencies, the sum total of the alleles should be equal to P plus Q. And this will be equal to 1. So the sum total of alleles of any locus will be always equals to 1. This is something that we should always remember. And based on that concept, we will be able to derive the other allelic frequencies. So if I have P plus Q equals to 1, what I can do here? Imagine a case where I know P, but I don't know Q. I can readily identify that. Similarly, when I know Q but not P, I can readily identify that. So P equals to 1 minus Q and Q equals to 1 minus. So sum total of the two alleles is 1. The frequency of P is 1 minus Q. The frequency of Q is 1 minus P. And this frequency ranges from 0 to 1. So you have a case where the population has only capital A, then P will become 1, Q will become 0. Or you may have a population where you have only the small a, this is allele, and then Q will become 1, P will become 0. So as one allele increases, the other allele gradually increases. So frequency of alleles in terms of the graphic representation, as the frequency of one allele increases, the frequency of the other allele gradually increases. So this is frequency. So that's the first part in terms of the frequency. The second one, we should derive same kind of expression for genotypic frequencies. So genotypic frequencies we can get from the Checkers code. because our very similar today. We'll take that into consideration in this. First, we go for homozygous dominant type. So this is genotypic frequency. So first one is homozygous dominant. So we have homozygous dominant as one component, that is E square. Next one we go to homozygous recessive, because that is also present only in one out of the 4 numbers. So again this is Q square. E square, Q square. Next when we have two heterozygotes. Frequency of capital E is small a, this one, plus frequency of capital E is small a. This is PQ. This is also Q, which means 2P. So we have seen that the sum total of the two alleles is equal to 1. If you take the same into consideration, if you square it, again you should get 1. So P plus Q whole square equals to 1. What does it mean? P square plus Q square plus 2PQ equals to 1. So now we put the second concept here. The first concept we said sum of the total alleles associated with any genetic locus will be 1. Now we are saying the sum total of frequencies of a given locus will also be 1. So both the frequencies are 1. Again, like the earlier case, we can write here in terms of the other components. If I want only frequency of capital A, this will become P square. This I can write it as 1 minus Q square plus 2P. Similarly, when I want homozygous frequency, it will be Q square equals to 1 minus P square plus 2P. When you have heterozygous, frequency of capital A small a equals to P square plus Q square. So this will go to genotypic frequencies. So we got the genotypic frequencies based on the checkerboard. We also got the genotypic frequencies that are based on the allele frequencies. In both the cases, the concept is the sum total of alleles frequency will be equal to 1. Sum total of genotypic frequencies will be equal to 1. So to make this is something as an understandable one, we consider a case where in a population an allele has a frequency of 0.1. So let us taking into consideration two-allele system, one allele frequency is given as 0.1. Find out the frequencies of genotypes. So you have to find out the 3 genotypes. Capital A, capital A, small a, small a. So first, what we know is an allele frequency. We don't know whether it is dominant allele or the recessive allele. So we take this as a dominant allele, and the frequency of that allele f of a equals to naught. We know already the sum total of the two alleles should be 1. That means the frequency of small allele should be 1 minus 0.3, which is 0.7. So from given allele frequency, we got the allelic frequencies of the mode. Now we go for genotypic frequency. The frequency of homozygous genotype f of capital A equals to p square. P square equals to 0.3 whole square, which is 0.09. As you are to express in terms of percentage, this is equal to 10%. Next one, the frequency of small a, small a. So small a frequency is 0.7. So that means q square. 0.7 whole square, which is 0.49, and you can take it as 49%. Now the last one is heterozygote. The frequency of the heterozygote is, we know from this equation, p plus q plus r whole square, or p plus q whole square, it is 2p, 2 into 0.3 into 0.7, which is 0.42 or 22%. So now if you take the sum total, it will be 100 in both the cases. Either it is 100% or it is not. So this is a simple way of understanding the concepts of the gene frequency, which is also called as allele frequency, and the genotypic frequency, which is also called as genotypic frequency. And once you know the gene and genotypic frequencies, from generation to generation, you can predict whether the population is static, that means no evolution, or if you see the changes, the population is dynamic. Dynamic means it is evolving. So that's why we look for the gene and genotypic frequencies. By knowing the gene and genotypic frequencies, or allele and genotypic frequencies, it is possible for us to know whether a population is further evolving or not. If gene and genotypic frequencies remain constant from one generation to another generation, it's like 0.3, 0.7, they remain the same. 0.09, 0.49, 0.4 will remain the same from one generation to another generation. It means this population is not undergoing evolution. The population is said to be in equilibrium. As such kind of populations may not stay for a long period. That's the major problem. The population should undergo some part of the evolution in which areas. It should undergo the evolution. And only when it undergoes evolution, the population will be able to adapt to the new condition. So that's first one, population in equilibrium. And here the rule is, we will take the genotypic frequencies. You will have your calculated and identified the same. You don't see any variation. plus 2kq equals to. So this is the population in equilibrium. So when population is in equilibrium, genotypic and gene frequencies remain constant from one generation to the next generation. So I can happily say this population remains static. But the rule is, if the population is static, it will not evolve. And the rule is, there is no evolution, the population will not sustain. A population is a more common case. When you look into the natural population, if you start really looking at the frequencies of gene and genotype, what you basically find is there are changes in the gene and genotypic frequencies. So in a population, when you move from one generation to another generation, if the frequencies are changing, the gene and genotypic frequencies are changing from generation to generation, such a population is in equilibrium, in dynamic state. And a population which is in dynamic state can undergo evolution. That means it has a possibility of surviving for some more generations. It can get modified as per the requirements of the surroundings, and each modification will change its survival rate in terms of the given environmental conditions. So this is the first part of what we call as the population genetics. And in population genetics 2, we will study the gene and genotypic frequencies. So the frequencies just tell us the proportion of a particular component. Here, the gene frequency is the particular proportion of one allele with respect to the population. The genotype is the particular genotype proportion with respect to the population. You can have the sum total of the frequencies. It always has 1. If it is a diagonal gene, you have 2 alleles, and the sum of the 2 allele frequencies will be 1. And if you have the genotypic frequencies, you get 3 genotypes: homozygous, dominant, homozygous recessive, and heterozygous, and the sum total of all the 3 frequencies will again be 1. And the next feature is the sum total of alleles of any genetic locus. The sum total of the genotypic frequencies of a given genotype, they will always remain as 1. Within, the frequencies can change, but the sum cannot be changed. This is fixed at 1. Then, if population you have where the gene frequency and the genotypic frequency is not changing from one generation to another generation, such a population we set in equilibrium, can be called as a particular equilibrium or in population equilibrium. If a population in equilibrium, it will not be affected by the external events. It is not subjected to evolutionary phenomena, and that means it will remain constant. As it is remaining constant, it will not be able to survive for a long period because there are no new adaptations. If the population has frequencies that are changing from one generation to another generation, it indicates the population is in a dynamic state. A population in the dynamic state can undergo modifications. It can develop into a new population as per the requirement, as per the effects that we have in the